If I went back in time as a sophomore in my PE class, and I saw people not wearing shorts and just wearing pants and boots, I look at them and I say, "What is wrong with you? You are supposed to be wearing shorts. If you were in PE, you were required to wear shorts and a shirt or shirt t-shirt. That's the proper attire and closed-toed shoes. No flops, no flops, no slips, no flops, no slippers, no jeans, no sweatpants, no pajama pants, nothing. Just simple shirt, shorts, closed-toed shoes. That's the whole point here. Tonight I'm going to take you to Ante High School. Back then, they had a dress policy in PE where you had to be wearing a basketball to wear shorts and a t-shirt in order to participate. I'm going to show you two clips. The first one was from Ante. Again, you're about to meet a student who loves to dance, but wait till you see what happens. Take a look.
Dance class is a PE class. It is basically for our cheerleaders and our pom girls. Right now, I need to meet with the student who just broke the PE dress policy. Go on in.
Mr. Day?
Lorenzo, why are you here?
Because, I forgot my dance clothes.
Okay. You like to dance?
I like to dance. I love to dance. In the middle of the night, in the middle of the night, in the middle of the night. Just think about me.
What's your favorite dance move?
A toe touch.
What's that?
Toe touch.
Toe touch?
Yeah.
But I don't know what the toe touch is.
Toe touch is like where you go like that. Like that.
Oh, okay.
I may be a big guy, but I can still break it down, show some moves. In the middle of the night, in the middle of the night.
What proper attire should you be wearing?
It's just like normally like just basketball shorts and a shirt.
Forgot them because why?
Well, I usually like I wash my clothes every Thursday nights, and I forgot, and she just said she expected me to wear this.
So she sent you down here with that skirt.
Yeah. Like this doesn't even fit me. Like it's like little. It's like tiny.
Can I see that?
Yeah. You
Dude, I don't think you could fit one of your feet through this thing, let alone your body.
I don't know if she was being serious about wearing the skirt, but I just thought like it was kind of intimidating to me because I'm a big guy, so it was like making me feel like I'm fat or something.
Lorenzo, you ever been in the office before?
It's my first time.
Dude, I'm gonna let you off with a warning, okay?
Okay, sir.
Next time, make sure you bring your proper clothes.
Yes, sir.
All right? All right, look.
After meeting with Mr. Day, I felt relieved because I thought he was going to give me something, really bad. But, it's my first time in the principal's office, and it's just, it made me, feel better. It's just, like a relief. In the middle of the night, in the middle of the night.
Before we move on to the next clip, what I want to point out to you is some advice. I want to give you some advice. Don't wash your clothes during the middle of the week, because you're always going to forget. Wash them at the end of the week, like every Friday. Like the Fridays on school night, Sunday through Thursday. Fridays are starting the weekend. So wash your clothes after school every Friday so that you don't always forget. Here's the next clip where he refused to wear shorts for this 2 days in a row.
In our PE classes, students have to wear the proper gear in order to be able to participate, which is a t-shirt and shorts. Right now, I'm meeting with a student who has refused to wear shorts in PE class for the second day in a row. Cody, the referral says 2 non-dress days, 2 days in a row.
Yes, sir.
What's going on?
I really don't feel comfortable in shorts because I have extremely white legs. Like, blindingly white.
Is there anything that maybe some lotion would help?
I doubted a good tan would probably work. I thought about going to a tanning salon, but you end up orange, so Orange or white? It's not that hard of a decision.
Well, I can help you maybe getting a pair of shorts that you're comfortable with, but I don't think I can help you with the tan part.
Well, just as long as they're not booty track shorts.
Booty track shorts.
Yeah.
Definitely we'll try to stay away from that. All right, Cody, I'm going to put you in school suspension for the remainder of the class period. Understand that if this happens again, I will contact your parents.
Absolutely. In the future, I'm going to start bringing my shorts because being embarrassed about my white legs isn't worth in-school suspension.
You want my advice? Here's some advice. You need to be dressing out every day. No pants, no sweatpants, no pajamas, no jeans, no flip-flops, no boots, no slippers, none of that. Shirt, shorts, and closed-toed shoes. Tennis shoes, slip-ons. Those are the two options. You don't do those things, then you get a failing grade. And then your parent conferences come in and saying, okay, what's the problem here? Why are you not dressing out every day? Because I don't like wearing shorts. Why don't you like wearing shorts? So-and-so. And you say, oh, because it's just an unexcused reason. So the bottom line is, dress out and you have good participation that way you can get good PE credit. Still ahead. You're about to meet a guy who knows he will die. You'll meet the warden and go through the process of the execution. You will be there for the judgment at midnight. Coming up next, this student is arrested for assaulting a teacher aide. It's one of the few moments, because it's just one of the moments in 6 years I've just done the show that just makes me sick, where a teacher just like that. Stay with us. Take a look at the full video clip of what happened, because it is the story that's causing a lot of attention. A student knocks out a teacher aide unconscious, and I want to warn you, it is very disturbing to watch. The audio is muted. Take a look at the clip. I'm just going to describe it to you while standing here. Okay. Faces are blurred. See, right here, there's the teacher, and coming up here is the student. Knocks her out, beats her up because of the Nintendo Switch. She comes in, and what she does, she comes in, tries to break it up. That person comes in, everyone tries to jump in and start breaking up. And pulls him apart. The victim's still unconscious. Everyone kept running. This is about 2 minute 50 some second video. But when you're dealing with situations like this, it just basically just gets underneath your skin. And in the case of this clip right here, this is all about a Nintendo Switch. You're not supposed to be bringing electronic devices to school. If the teacher says you cannot play that and takes it away, you don't just go knock them unconscious. That can lead to an assault charge. It can be up to the district in some states to press charges. Here in the state of Texas, if you've been assaulted, you have the right to press charges. As for that victim, no word yet on whether she's still on. No word yet, but we'll keep you posted on some updates. But as the video shows, she's unconscious. Sorry, and now the person who punched the teacher has been arrested and charged for aggravated assault and battery. Assault's a real thing. This clip goes on. This is from the camera. Now take a look from Inside Edition.
This is the terrifying scene caught on school cameras. Police say a 17-year-old student ambushed, then physically attacked a teacher's aide. It left her unconscious. He can be seen kicking and stomping on the woman in a hallway. People rushed to stop him and give aid to the victim. It happened at Matanzas High School in Flagler County, Florida.
Stand up for me. Put your hands behind your back. Turn around. Turn the other way. Stay right there.
The student was placed in handcuffs and arrested. He now faces an aggravated battery charge. Deputies say the teenager told them he was upset because the employee took his Nintendo Switch away from him during class. The superintendent of the district said in a statement, "Creating a safe learning and working environment on our campuses is critical. Violence is never an appropriate reaction." This is Inside Edition Digital.
Wow. I just really would not be caught doing this. If someone took away my Nintendo Switch, I would wait till I get it back at the end of the class day or at the end of the school day. I want to go sucker punch a teacher in the back of the head and be arrested. Assault's a real thing. An example of this would be the movie Fist Fight. I won't show it to you, but YouTube it. But they're gonna kick my ass if I show it. I mean, we've been focusing on a bunch of issues like this. I mean, students attacking teachers, so and so.
This is the terrifying scene caught on school cameras. Police.
Sorry about that. But what we're dealing with here, we're living somewhere. We're living in a system to where kids think it's okay to hit people. It's not okay to hit people. You may think, oh, she took my Nintendo Switch, I'm gonna go beat her up. That's not the way to do this. That's not the way to solve problems. What you should have done is wait till the end of the school day or the end of the class period. Something like this should not have been happening. But in the end, though, something has been done. And I'm only glad that juvenile got arrested. So next time, if your teacher takes away your phone, don't go rushing after her. Wait until the end of the school day, wait until after class or the end of the period. After class or after school to get it back. That's the whole key here. Coming up next, this person was arrested for murder. Now he's sentenced to death. Cynthia McFadden with The Judgment and Midnight. Stay with us. Just 2 to 3 days ago, there was a lockdown in Kingsville where someone reported a gun on campus. It is a development story, so here's Bill Churchwell with the latest.
Well, I can tell you that there is still an active police presence as we speak. Take a look right over here. You can see this street is currently blocked. You have police right there detouring traffic into this shopping area. But now take a look right over here. You can see all of the cop cars lined up in the parking lot of the high school right there. You can see that DPS trooper driving on through, and you can see all the buses there. But then you can see all the students that have just been let out. They are being brought here across the street. We were told just minutes ago by a couple of students that they were being searched before being brought outside. We've seen parents parking right over here. If you take a look in this area, this is where all of the parents have staged up waiting to pick up their kids. Now, we started getting reports late this afternoon about the large police presence at the campus. The Claiborne County Sheriff's Office confirmed to 3 News that law enforcement was here searching for a gun that students were allegedly passing around. That prompted the response from Kingsville PD, the Claiborne County Sheriff's Office, DPS, and many more law enforcement agencies. We've seen those agencies here armed and with tactical gear going inside of the school. This also prompted a number of parents out here to flock to the campus to see what was going on. Many of them said that they got text messages from the students talking about a possible gun on campus, the active situation. And now the school usually lets out right around 4 p.m. And as I said, students ended up being released building by building and escorted here across the street next to this shopping area. What is not known at this point is whether a gun was ever found or if anyone has been questioned or taken into custody. It's still a very active scene out here, and we are waiting for law enforcement officials to give us an update on the situation. But for now, reporting live, I'm Bill Churchwell. Now back to you.
All right, Bill, thank you so much. So if you have...
Passing around a gun? You're not supposed to bring guns on campus. Toy guns, rifles, shotguns, BB guns. It really doesn't matter. You're not supposed to bring guns on campus. You know the rules. It clearly states right there in the code, if you're in your code of conduct in your school saying all weapons are prohibited. That's the basic common sense. We've all lost common sense. I don't care. I really do not care if. I get it that you want to show your friends the gun that you got for your birthday or your Christmas present. But you should not be bringing the gun to school and showing it to your friends. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. No excuses. There's probably not one person here that would say, oh, I want to show my gun to my friends. I don't care if I get caught. Okay, well, do you think jail's cool? Jail isn't cool. It's not cool to be sitting in jail saying, oh, so-and-so, oh, I think jail's cool because I get to just get out of school. It's probably I'm not going to say it. I don't want to get involved here. Okay. When we return, you'll meet a man who says he will die. And you also meet the warden. You will be there for the judgment at midnight. Stay with us. Now an issue all around the world. Do you believe in the death penalty? In the state of Texas, there is a death penalty. In tonight's story, you're meeting a man who knows he will die for basically murder. You also meet the warden, who will walk us through what it's like for the state to take a life. And you also meet an attorney, and the father of the victim who was murdered comes face to face with that murderer. As we look at the judgment at midnight for the execution of one man. Here's Cynthia McFadden.
I'm Stu, and in Louisiana we have got a dead man walking. We are getting ready for an execution in Louisiana just after midnight tonight. I say it's about time.
Angola Prison, 5:30 a.m. For the man scheduled to die in 18 hours, this day begins as thousands of others have. His name is Antonio James. He spent more than 12 years on death row, longer than anyone else here. Are you afraid to die?
Well, in the past, I had feared it many years ago, but no, not no more.
Burning New Orleans, you're on B97.
Scoot, I think this lethal injection is much too easy. They have plenty of trees around New Orleans, and you need one good piece of rope and do like they used to do, just string them up.
7:30 a.m. Antonio James is being moved from death row to Camp F. Inmates call it the death house. If he is fearful, he does not show it. He says little, makes no requests. On death row, there are no goodbyes.
Rhonda, you're on B97.
Yes, Scoot. You know, I feel like a victim because my tax dollars are paying for his 17 years of being alive. Put him to sleep, whatever. You know, a dog bites someone, we put him to sleep.
His Antonio James came to Angola prison the first time as a teenager, then again as a young adult. He has moved into middle age here, half of his life spent behind bars. He is now 41.
Okay, just turn your face, put your back against the wall.
And in the same way that he was officially processed in so many years ago, today he is processed out, fingerprinted and photographed to close his file.
You're murdering somebody, take their life, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth.
Tim, thanks for calling B97. People are very, very frustrated and they're angry.
This prison is run by Warden Burl Cain. Just after midnight tonight, he will give the signal to pump lethal poisons into James's body, lest the courts or the governor intervene.
How you doing?
Doing all right.
Ready for the next ride?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready to go?
Ready to go.
For a man with a reputation for being tough, Warden Cain today finds himself struggling with some difficult questions.
If my daughter or my son were the victim, I'd want to kill them. I wouldn't even want to wait till they got here to have the death penalty. You would too. That's so complex that it's something that we can't even answer. And those people who say, oh yeah, I'm for it right now, then they need to walk in my shoes some.
I don't think nobody really want to die, but I do have hope, and I do have faith in God. It don't necessarily have to be what I want, but whatever He wants.
The ride to Camp F spans the length of the prison, 5 miles. How was the ride over?
It was all right. I got a chance to look at some of the scenes I hadn't saw for years, you know, like the cows and stuff like that, horses, guys working in the field.
8:30. At Camp F, James is put in a holding cell, just 52 steps down the hall from the execution chamber. He has had 13 stays of execution. Last year, he came the closest. As he waited in this same cell, a judge stopped that execution just 4 hours before midnight.
Well, it's not like we hadn't been here before, is it?
Got that right.
You all right?
I'm all right.
When he got his stay before, I got to go tell him, Antonio, we're not going to execute you tonight. So I gave this guy the best news of his life. We're not going to kill you tonight. Okay? Good feeling.
In the years since, the warden and the condemned man have formed an unusual bond.
Would you call Antonio James a friend?
As we define friend, I wouldn't so much say friend, but a person that I care about. I care about all the inmates, but he's special.
And if the execution is carried out, it will be the warden who has to give the signal to go ahead.
Yeah.
Have you and he discussed that?
Okay, we had discussed that the first time. I think that since that time, he really got to know me as a person. And he's a religious guy as well. He believes in the same God and Christ that I do. And I believe that it would affect him more now than it would have the first time.
The two men plan tonight's dinner, James's last meal. Tradition dictates it is inmates' choice, a final indulgence. Last year's menu remains the favorite.
Fried oysters?
Yeah. We had gumbo with no chicken in it, right?
And gumbo with no chicken, that's right.
That's but seafood.
Okay, do you want some fried catfish?
Yeah, if that's what you want, yeah.
Well, that's not me. You gotta have what you want, man.
Okay, we'll put it down.
All right. Put in some fried catfish. You know, I like you, love, but I ain't gonna trade places with you.
I know one.
Is he a dangerous man, Antonio James?
Today, no. People change. We're not the same. You're not the same today as you were 15 years ago. 15 years ago, Antonio James may have been a murderer. He's not today.
Has Antonio James changed you in any way?
Yes, I came here with an opinion about a lot of things that today I don't have opinion about hardly anything. And I came strong in my convictions about, maybe even about the death penalty. And I thought, this is easy to be for it. It's not easy to be the one to do it.
Good seeing you. Good. Town 4, okay.
11:30. The warden is out of the front gate, giving the first in a long day of press briefings. He brings a message from Antonio James.
He said, well, tell them there's consequences for your behavior. He said, tell that to all the predators and all the hoodlums in New Orleans.
For Antonio James, the road to the death house began in New Orleans. He grew up poor, wandering these streets, a kid in trouble, abused, he says, by his father, and living in abandoned cars at 9, stealing food and cash by 12, 38 arrests by age 17. James says it was drugs, heroin, cocaine, whatever he could find, that led him at 24 to this street in the French Quarter. It was here, 17 years ago, that an armed robbery went bad. For the $35 in his pocket, Henry Silver was shot in the head and left to die on the sidewalk in front of his house.
People heard my uncle screaming, begging for his life. He begged for his life, and they shot him in the head.
Betty and Richard Lacoste remember the night their uncle was killed. Richard identified him at the hospital.
He was laying on a gurney with a bloody towel on the back of his head and his chest heaving up and down, and he was fighting for a life, fighting a battle for his life, which he didn't win.
James admits he was there that night, but has always maintained it was his partner, this man, who pulled the trigger.
You say you didn't have the gun, and that you were pretty upset that somebody got murdered in the course of this robbery. Why do you go out with somebody else who has a gun? 23 days later, somebody else gets murdered. Why didn't you say, I'm not doing this anymore?
Well, I didn't really think about it like that, because I didn't think that it would happen again.
But it did. 3 weeks later, James was involved in yet another robbery, here at the Florida Avenue Cleaners. This time, a different partner in crime, and another elderly victim, Elvin Adams, also shot in the head.
Mr. James is
The victim's son, Elvin Jr., says his father would not have resisted giving his assailants the $33 that cost him his life.
That's my father. That's under that dirt. And the man that killed my father did it cold-bloodedly. Wasn't robbing him good enough. He had to take his life.
Have you accepted responsibility for what you've done?
Yeah, I accept responsibility, the part that I played as far as the armed robbery.
But as to the murders?
Well, no, I feel like that I'm on death row for murders that I didn't commit.
Of the 3 men involved in these crimes, only Antonio James was convicted of murder. His partners made deals with the prosecution, and in 2 separate trials, both testified that James was the gunman. In exchange, they received little or no jail time. One man served 4 years, the other walked free, while James received life in the Adams case and death for the Silver murder. James's court-appointed trial attorney now says his representation for the Silver case was so bad, Antonio James didn't get a fair trial. After a 3-day proceeding, it took a jury only 30 minutes to return with the sentence of death. And so he was sent here to Angola to die. He has waited on death row since June 7, 1983, hoping all that time for a new trial. 8 locked doors separate him from the outside world and the rest of the prison. Here the days begin one just like the one before. Friday looks like Saturday, Saturday like Sunday, week after week. Antonio James and the 57 other condemned men here have nothing to lose and nothing to do. As security risks, they spend 23 hours a day locked in their cells.
So you can touch the 2 walls virtually.
My arm is not that long.
We got about a ½ an inch on each side.
Yeah.
If there's something to look forward to, it's the chance to see the sky. 3 times a week, inmates spend 1 hour outside, in separate pens they call the kennels.
In your heart of hearts, do you think that you will be executed?
Really, I don't know, but inside me, something tells me not to believe that.
Do you think it's going to happen this time?
I think so. Because, you know, he's had a lot of appeals, and usually you can figure it, 13, 12, and 13, they run out of gas, and he's at 14. And unless the state or the court stop the train, we don't end up in a death chamber.
It only takes one phone call from the court or the governor. When we come back, you're going to see that rehearsal of them walking to the death chamber as Cynthia McFadden continues the Judgment at Midnight. Stay with us. Return now to our story. Antonio James has been sentenced to death for the Silver case. Remember, he was sentenced to. He was also sentenced to life for that other murder. But what does it take for someone to die? You're about to go through the rehearsal of Antonio James going through that death chamber. You'll also see those lethal injections that they've been talking about. So what does it take for an inmate to die? Once again, here's Cynthia McFadden.
In the week leading up to the scheduled execution, the prison prepares.
All right, this one counts.
2 days before Antonio James is slated to die, a special team is at the death house, practicing his final moments. A corrections officer stands in for Antonio James, and every step the condemned man will take is carefully planned, down to the last detail.
No rush, just take your time.
Meanwhile, there's another team 150 miles away in New Orleans, working to save that same life.
Supreme Court denied our writ.
Turned down by a state court, attorney Nick Trentacosta must now convince a federal judge to hear what he says are 6 new witnesses who will testify that Antonio James wasn't the shooter.
You believe Antonio James is innocent of these crimes?
Absolutely.
But taken in the best light from your client's point of view, he's at least guilty of murder in the 2nd degree, which is life in prison without the possibility of parole. So we're not really talking about innocence in the way that people think about innocence.
Absolutely. I mean, you're right. We're talking about innocent of killing someone. Innocent of pulling the trigger and killing someone. Mr. James is that.
So, Warden, this is where Antonio James will take his final steps down this corridor here.
As the clock hits midnight, these 6 men will be prepared to carry Antonio James to the death chamber if he falters or resists. No one ever has.
When you turn the curve and see the table, it's a shock. The room is like it is. It's white. It looks, it looks sterile. Which, it looks alive, but yet it reeks of death. Okay, Antonio, you can make your last statement now.
At the same time, Trentacosta is heading to court, where the judge must decide whether or not he's willing to hear those witnesses, which would halt the execution.
All we're asking for, Judge, if you're not so sure that we win the case, just give us 10 hours to put our proof on. Because if he doesn't give us those 10 hours, this man's dead and the case is closed forever.
Prosecutor Jack Peebles will be in court to oppose Trentacosta. He'll argue that most of those new witnesses are still in jail and not worth listening to.
Previously, his efforts of this type have been denied in the federal courts. We are going to ask the judge to deny this one also.
They're just going to lift him up and sit him here. They'll lay him down, and each person on the strap-down team has a specific strap even.
Are there any things that the fellas who've been on the team longer tell the people who first come on it?
I think the only thing that the old hands told me was not to look in his face. I guess it becomes more personal when you look in his face.
People say that lethal injection is really a very easy way for these men to die. Is that true?
It's not how you die, though. I don't think. It's the walk in the door. It's the sit on the table. It's the straps around your arm, because it takes you longer to strap you in here than it does an electric chair. So, is it the pain of death? I don't think it is. I think it's the anticipation of death.
back in New Orleans, court is in recess, and Nick Trent-Acosta is hopeful.
Well, we had 2 hours of oral argument to the judge, and I think he's deeply troubled by the evidence we present to him, and he, as he announced from the bench, he needs to think about it for the next couple of hours before making his decision of whether to stop the execution. I think the argument went well, and he's going to let us know at 2 o'clock.
Together, Nick Trent-Acosta and Antonio James have been fighting off death for 8 years. Trent-Acosta now represents 22 men on death row in Angola, and Antonio James was the first.
Got a lot of confidence in you. And before you leave, I want to tell you that I miss you and I love you.
Well, Tony, I love you too, man.
I appreciate that.
As we stand in this room, a room that's filled with so much mystery and
death, a lot of death in this room. Electric chair used to sit right here, and that was the ventilator fan to take out the stench.
But now, death will come through the IV lines that will be inserted into Antonio James's arms after he is strapped to the table.
Okay, how you feel? Oh, that's good. Everything's fine.
At this point, the only thing that could stop the real execution is a last-minute call.
These 2 phones,
Yeah.
to the Department of Corrections, one is to the governor's mansion.
Right.
There's a code word, and if this phone rings and they don't do the code word, I ignore the call.
And if that phone doesn't ring, the executioner, in a small room behind one-way glass, takes his cue from the warden.
And I'll give a signal to them in there, and then they'll know then to go ahead and they manually do the injection into the IV line of the drug that's going to cause the death.
The theory is that it's the worst of the worst who are executed.
No. There's meaner people in this prison than the people on death row. And that's what's sad, because sometimes even ourselves, as warden, would shudder. We let this guy go from prison, and we say, man, that's crazy to let that one go. But yet we keep this one over here that we think and feel like he's totally rehabilitated. But then we don't second-guess the system. We should.
Tony, we got bad news.
The judge has made a decision.
We got bad news, Tony.
Okay.
He ruled against us without letting us have a hearing.
Okay.
That means their new witnesses will not be heard. But Trent-Acosta and his co-counsel Denny LaBeouf don't have time for a post-mortem. They are already moving on to the next battle.
So I'm leaving in a few minutes, Tony, and I should see you this evening. Apparently they're going to let me chat with you about the pardon board tomorrow, so I'll be there not too long.
The judge made the decision that we expected and that we asked for. Pardon board hearing is set for tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. at Angola. That'll be the next step.
For the defense team, it will be a long night, like so many others before. On a case that's been heard 26 different times in 5 courts, Trent-Acosta has all but run out of legal options. Most of his hope now rests with tomorrow's pardon board, which can recommend to the governor that James's life be spared.
Just ahead on Eyewitness News, this convicted killer makes one last attempt to save his own life.
The pardon board met today at Angola, where James is scheduled to die by lethal injection early Friday morning.
Today, attorneys who defended James and those who prosecuted him spoke before the pardon board. So did relatives of the victim.
Last April, pardon board members rejected James's plea by a vote of 3-2.
Antonio James is remarkably calm for a man facing death.
We are here today to hear the application of Mr. James in reference to the state's decree that he be executed before this weekend.
We believe this is a changed man.
Ladies and gentlemen, this man was convicted by a jury fairly.
The worst thing that could happen would be the execution of a man who's innocent of the crime for which he's being executed.
His guilt or innocence is something for the jury to decide, not for you to decide.
Mr. Antonio James has appealed and appealed and appealed for 16 years. My uncle begged for his life. One night, one appeal. He didn't get it. Mr. James has changed. Isn't that great? We're glad that he changed. My uncle has not changed. He's still rotting in his grave. He's been there for 17 years.
And for 17 years, Elvin Adams Jr. has also waited for Antonio James to pay for his crime. Oddly enough, the defense hopes that today Mr. Adams might actually help their client. It's a long shot, but they are desperate.
I also want to tell this board briefly that I participated in a very remarkable meeting last Friday between Tony James and Mr. Alvin Adams.
Mr. James, how you doing? You could be better, Mr. James. How you been doing?
I'm doing okay.
That's good. That's good.
I want you to understand how truly sorry I am for your father's death.
Mr. James, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
James's lawyers are hoping that after spending some time together, Adams will tell the pardon board that Antonio James is a changed man who doesn't deserve to die.
My father was Alvin E. Adams. I was up here last Friday and Antonio James and I talked. Mr. James told me that he was not the trigger man in my father's murder. I asked Mr. James, what did you do?
I understood that.
By you being there, you are just as much guilty as the one that pulled the trigger, even though you may not have pulled the trigger. You see?
But if I'm innocent or not, it doesn't matter. Do it matter to you?
Daddy, do it matter to you? He didn't answer.
One meeting could not erase 17 years of pain and anger.
It's time for Mr. James to answer. The only sorry I feel is for Mr. James' family, because I love my father and I know his family love him, but enough is enough.
In the end, the pardon board agrees.
We find no compelling reason at this time to change the sentence that was pronounced upon you by your fellow Americans. With that, we will conclude this hearing. Thank you.
By a vote of 3-2, the State Pardon Board today rejected convicted killer Antonio James' plea to spare his life.
Family members of the victim are clearly pleased with the pardon board's decision. The family members for the condemned man wept openly after the decision was read.
James argued for his life, perhaps for the last time. This afternoon, the State Pardon Board refused James's request for a stay of execution, but the courts and the governor still have a say in the matter. James was found guilty of robbing and killing a man in the French Quarter back in 1979.
Again, it only takes one phone call from the governor or the judge. So what's going to happen now? When we come back, we'll hear more from Antonio James, and we'll hear more from the warden. And you'll also see that last meal that's prepared. Cynthia McFadden will continue Judgment at Midnight. Stay with us. Well, we have now run out of time, because I promised you to show this, but we're going to continue this on Monday. Now, will the governor or court of law call him up and say, spare his life? Or will the execution continue? Go forward. You'll also see the injections that they will give Antonio James as he will be prepared to die on that day. You'll also hear more from the warden and from the murderer, as they tell all sides of the story. You also see that last meal. The catfish, the gumbo, the fried oysters. It's the Judgment Midnight right here. You will not miss. Here's a sneak preview.
In the final hours, a condemned man sees his mother, his son, and his grandson for what may be the last time.
My dad's crying.
A family's last chance for memories. When prime time continues after this from our ABC stations.
Don't miss more Judgment at Midnight. You'll also hear from Antonio's family. You'll meet Antonio's family as they reunite for the final time before that execution. So don't miss the preview of the ejections, the last meal, and the family union of Antonio James. It's a show you're not going to want to miss. That's Give Me a Break for this Saturday going to Sunday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Monday. For all of us here at YouTube, Give Me a Break. Good night, everyone.